do a show, sometimes you'll still see people doing it. You better be funny, right? Because people have paid to go to that show. That said, most comedians, at least I do, will have some kind of note system. We'll talk about it more later, but once you get comfortable with your jokes, all you need is a bullet point, right? Just one word will generally cue you. I write them right here. So when you take a drink of water, I can look at it, but you can have it on the water bottle. Plenty of professional comics still have note somewhere. Even if it's a piece of paper flat, you get used to it. Eventually you won't need it once you know your material really well. And, but it's a crutch, but it's not a profoundly offensive crutch. Now it's to be expected, okay? I'm just saying that so you don't judge me when I have my phone here and I'm telling you what I'm about to tell you. So when we say narrative stand-up, what we're talking about is stand-up that's based around some kind of story structure. That can be misleading because what people often think of is, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna tell a funny story. Not so much in that way. Because when we tell a funny story, we think, I talk to my friends, I'm partying, I'm animated, it's getting a laugh. There's a lot of factors involved when you're telling a story in a non-stage setup that go into that make it funny. They know you. They're getting to know you, right? And which they kind of do on stage, but this is your stage persona. As much as we'd like it to be the same person, it's not. We're performing, and you'll get more and more, you'll find that, oh, this is the elevated me, right? Like Chris Rock doesn't scream in his day-to-day conversations. He's actually very quiet. But when he's on the mic, he yells everything, okay? So you just you'll elevate yourself and you'll realize that. Stories have jokes and punchlines. Okay, in stand-up comedy. They may be harder to spot. We'll do a little bit of diagramming later just to kind of see what we're talking about. So it may feel like they're just making us laugh by telling a story. They're making us laugh, and then there is a joke, a punchline that is tied into the material. Because otherwise, you run two risks. One, you end up giving a TED Talk, which isn't bad, but it's probably not what the audience came for, right? And or the worst is you're essentially telling people a dream you had last night. Not interesting. No matter how interesting a dream was, there's no way to kill it faster than telling it to somebody. So that's what you want to avoid. That said, pretty much everyone starts with that when you're writing a narrative thing. Narrative can be as thin as, I got a lot of bad haircuts when I was a kid. Worst one, 8th grade. Went into Supercuts. Mom told the person something, ran the shaver right down the top of my head. Right down the top of my head. I wound up completely bald. And I said, Mom, what'd you tell her? And she said, I said, just a quarter of an inch. I was like, a quarter of an inch? You don't know what an inch is, Mom? And she looked me in the face and said, blame your father. So it's like, it's a third of the group's good, okay? So I was kidding. So that's a story. Even that was probably a little wordy. I have bits before and after, and you will get multiple jokes out of a story, right? It's very common, but it could also be something like, say, if you've heard Mike Birbiglia or listened to a kind of funny story on The Moth, David Sedaris reading his essays, okay? Those are comedic, okay? Part of the difference is Mike Birbiglia does one-person shows. There's a reason, because it's not a traditional stand-up comic, okay? He is telling stories with funny bits, but the story is actually central and the most important, okay? He's telling you something with some sort of message or thing he's learned at the end, right? He's engaging, so it works. But if you try and go up to a 5-minute set and do that, you're probably you're gonna bomb, or you're gonna feel like you bomb, because you're not getting laughs, right? You can't judge it the same way. So that's why sometimes we think of narrative in maybe the incorrect way. You can tell the story, but it's gonna have punchlines. They just may not be as obvious as what we talked about last week, or what we saw with Stephen Wright, or Mitch Hedberg, those really obvious, Rodney Dangerfield punchlines, right? It's a setup, it's a punchline. If anybody also is like me and goes down rabbit holes online, there's plenty of places where you can find lots of people talking about stand-up and analysis and how to write. Reddit is a good and horrible source for it. So I recommend, unless you're regularly on Reddit and participating, just read it, right? Eventually, if you wanted to, people do have, there's places on there for critique. People can post a clip, ask how people feel. Hey, I thought this joke worked. It's bombing. Let me give you a hand. Your feedback will vary in quality and delivery. But once you're comfortable getting feedback, you can say, that's bullshit. That's maybe true. That is not my style. It's not going to work for me because I don't want to do it, right? Sometimes that's the case. It's funny, don't want to do it, okay? So there's 2 quotes that I found from some pretty decent sounding comics. Their advice was decent anyway. Those who can't do teach, just kidding. So from this person said, when somebody asked, how do I be a storytelling comedian? That's how they put it. Storytelling comedian here. I find it easier to take a story and weave punchlines throughout it. It's easier for me to work that way. Okay, I agree with that. When you're writing a narrative, especially if it's something that's very personal, which we sometimes do, it's easier to get the story down and then go back and find where can I hit a joke here, okay? And then you'll maximize it. Is there another beat that I can add, meaning a secondary punchline, right? That adds another laugh, okay? And then we'll go in strength usually from highest to lesser return, and then you move on. I have read the concerns of telling stories at the open mic because it's a little time, okay? Meaning that if you're trying to be a storytelling comic, it is hard sometimes to do exactly what you want in 3 minutes, okay? That said, you can do it. And it actually can help. Like I said, it might be hard, but it gives you the opportunity to whittle the story down to its most important parts, okay? Delivering a solid stand-up bit. It can be done. It's how every single book can be summarized in 1 sentence, okay? It's that elevator pitch concept. Of course, there's tons of details left out, but the important thing is that, they know what it is. Christine by Stephen King. Car made from evil parts kills people. I mean, really, you can get more complicated, but that's the core of the story. This is, I agree as well, the fun part about doing this process is taking your story and fitting in as many punchlines as you can, okay? So sometimes you'll hear a storytelling comedian that takes a long time to get to a punchline. Depends on whether or not you think it's worth it. The punchline's really good, they built a lot of tension. You might explode. But if it's not a fantastic punchline, you're like, I feel disappointed because I've waited, right? So there's a risk, but you can really cram in punchlines. You can end up with so much more than you expected from a story by really digging in and analyzing it, okay? This other person said something I like too. Don't fall into the trap of thinking the conclusion of the story is the punchline. It is not necessarily the punchline, okay? It's great to end with a punchline. You should probably end with it, but that is not what the end of the story is, right? So, for example, if I ended my story with the next bit, which is usually something like, I was driving, I was like, Mom, I can't go to school. My head is so white, I look like a Q-tip. And she said, honey, you don't look like a Q-tip. You look like a cancer patient. And, so that, I went to school, whatever. I may end the story, because what's the next beat, right? Well, if I don't have a joke, it's, I went to school and the hair grew back and it was fun, okay? That's not a joke, okay? I want to find a tagline at the end, but that is the end of the story. That's not the joke, right? So you don't want to think that your entire story is just building to one joke, because you are going to lose your audience partway in. They're waiting for a laugh. Okay, that's why you have to have jokes throughout. All right. A lot of people who try storytelling comedy, especially early on, they think the end of the story is the end of the bit. Like I said, it's not. If I just said, I have my hair grew back, it was fine. I need a joke. I need a punchline there, right? I need a joke. The end itself is not the joke. And the entire bit cannot just be working towards one end, usually. Very few comics can do that, okay? It doesn't mean you can't. There's always exceptions, but you better try it at the open mics, okay? So the other thing you want, and this is just a concept of storytelling in general, if you're going to make the story important enough that people realize you're telling a story, right? Like the haircut thing, it's really quick. You probably don't think I'm telling a story, I'm just talking about haircuts, okay? That's how I can get away with, frankly, not having it moving on. But if you're telling a story like when I was a kid, I was raised at a Baptist church, you started a story. People are expecting to hear about this church, okay? So you better have a story arc. Does not have to be complicated. Does not have to be so grand that you end up writing a novel down. People aren't going to listen to it. Maybe they'll read it, but not going to listen to it, okay? So have some sort of wrap up for the story, and that's also going to help you write that joke, that final joke, I don't know. That's, I went to school, but that's when I learned don't go to Supercuts. Don't let your mom tell the stylist what you want. And my dad has a smaller penis than he says. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the button, right? You want some sort of, and a couple of comic terms I wanted to mention that we didn't cover, I think, last time. A bit is a section of jokes that are under one topic and they make up a set. Okay, so the set is your entire performance. Bits are these sections of jokes that you have throughout that fit together. Once I move from the haircut stuff to something else, that's bit is over. The haircut bit is over. I'm moving on to another bit. Okay, all the bits make up the set. So the other thing is buttons. A button means you've got some sort of punchline that will wrap up a bit, okay, or even a joke. Sometimes you've got multiple jokes or multiple punchlines that keep feeding off of that initial setup. And then the last one's going to be a button. It's just an extra, it's the period at the end of the sentence. People laugh because it's funny, but they also know you're moving on. So you're not giving them whiplash, okay? The other thing I'll say, narrative storytellers have a hard time with this sometimes, and many of us do in general. We think if we're telling jokes that we have to transition clearly between topics. If you can instantly, great. If you can't, I had a coach say this, and it's the most true thing ever. The best transition is a laugh. People don't give a shit if you're continuing what you're talking about, if they're laughing and they laugh again, right? We're used to it with comedians, that they jump topic to topic, okay? Some don't. The heavier narrative storytelling ones will not. In fact, an entire hour-long show will seem like it's been a continuous story, even though they're actually doing multiple bits, Talking about childhood, the bit about the dog is actually a bit, and the bit at the end about the death of a loved one, hilarious. That's another bit, okay? So when you watch the homework for this week, which will be posted shortly after this class today, there's another 3 specials. There's also tons of clips that are like 7 6-minute clips. The specials are also, again, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. When you watch those, think about the story that people are telling. Think about where the laughs come, okay? If you're watching a 6-minute, bit in the clip, count how many times there's a joke. Whether you laugh or whether you're like, or whether you just smile to yourself, that was a joke, right? There's a punchline. Write down how many. You can do this for any comic, not just narrative comics, but you will see how many jokes per minute, how many beats per minute are they hitting the jokes. Some are just, they will destroy you because they have so many. It can actually tire the audience. Not a bad thing in comedy, but especially when you're doing shorter sets. But count it. Some people you love, you'll be like, I only find like 2 punchlines. Like I'm listening though, I'm engaged, right? Everyone has a different style and different strengths, okay? We'll talk about John Mulaney a little more later. John Mulaney does that, right? He tells a story. Sometimes it's almost, if I'm not writing it down, it's sometimes impossible for me to figure out where the actual joke structure was, but it is there, okay? The other thing that we'll talk about later, Emily's really fantastic at this, is character. It'll be in a future class coming up. I think, is it next week actually? Okay, next week we'll talk about character. But you'll see comedians who have a very specific delivery of words that makes us laugh. There's still a joke there. Again, though, it's more than just written on the page. It's their physicality, right? People say Aziz Ansari, they joke about his jokes. Like, just because you say something at the end loud doesn't make it a joke, right? But he delivers it in a way that makes us laugh, okay? So all of that, pay attention to it when you watch the specials and the clips for homework this week. All right. So with that said, I think, and just in general, to wrap it up for this, telling a good story means understanding how a story works. That's what your packet is today. In fact, it's a storytelling comedian who did like 3 articles that go into each other. Okay. But really what he's teaching you is what a story structure is. Some of us who've written scripts or anything else already know kind of act 1, act 2, act 3, there's a climax and then the denouement, the falling to the end. Even though your story may be a minute, right, between all your jokes, or even maybe even shorter, it has that up and down and that button, right? You're hitting that. So if you really want to try writing a story that is a comic set or a bit, it helps to understand the story part because it will help carry you from punchline to punchline, right? It builds that engagement from punchline to punchline. So if you do have to wait a little longer because they have to have more information for the setup, they're still with you, okay? So Emily is going to lead you in a warm-up, which I will watch from the sidelines, and then we will get you guys on the mic. Emily said it before, we'll start about 2 minutes with some prompts, and then you'll go into 3 minutes of any material that you've written this week for the joke assignment. If you haven't written, just let us know. It's okay. I'm not check marking a box in the back. It's on my computer. And I'm just kidding. Yes, it's okay. We will prompt you then more to help you develop more ideas and things you can build off of. All right? Emily, you can do your warm-up.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Hi everybody, I'm just walking up to the stage now. Good job, Nick.
Alright. Thank you guys so much for being here. We made it to another one. Yay. I'm gonna leave the music stand up here if you guys need to set water or notes. And then keep in mind also that this is your safe space up here. This is your practice space. So I would recommend as much as possible, get familiar with holding the microphone. Everybody's got their own style, but as we keep watching videos of people, you'll find that the ice cream cone is a common way to hold the mic. For some reason, I feel it takes a better photo than if you have your hand in front of you and it's got a sandwich vibe, but that can also be used to emphasize certain jokes. So again, this is your space to play around with it. You can also play around with the mic stand too. So for this one, the mic just clips back in. And then a lot of times when you guys do shows and mics, you'll find that the stand might be too high or too low. Literally, most of these are the same. There's a little joint right here. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. You can bring it up or down. Just, if you can, reset it. And then I've also seen comedians hold it like this, little Freddie Mercury. So again, this is your guys' time to play with that. And also, if you find that no one can hear me because the mic's over here because I'm getting too into talking with my hands, try to listen for your voice in the speaker while you're in class. You can, if you're yelling, I would recommend bringing the mic down because we can hear that and we know. Or if it's a secret, if it's whispering, bring it closer to you. Just keep in mind also that this, aside from the keg and the taps, is probably one of the most expensive things in the bar. So when you do mics, when you do shows, respect it. They'll respect you. They'll love that. Again, I really aim to make all of you guys look like you know what you're doing and this is not new. So, and then last time, if you want to just take it, you and the mic, put the stand back there. And then when you're done, you can put it right here.
General rule too, but
Please.
we don't have a soundproof in the back to up it or down it, so you may have to change. The general rule is a fist. That's how close the microphone should be, is a fist. Right? You can bring it up, as Emily said, if there's a reason for it, but a fist should be it's an easy-ish way to kind of start to get used to where that is, okay? Also, if you're exhaling into the mic, it happens, even, to the best of us, especially because every mic is different and every receiver is different. Just be aware, you'll hear it. A lot of comics use it though, when they're exasperated, so just be aware of all that stuff. Listen when you watch the videos especially, and thank you so much to Jeff who's trying out to give us a really nice, crisp picture with the Mark. I'm sorry, Dan. Mark. You know what? Thank you, Jeff, for making Mark bring the camera.
Yes. Thank you both for the team.
No, I appreciate it.
And then I just had one more note about using mics to go over your narrative structure. In general, when it comes to booking shows, when you first start out, you're probably going to get a maximum of 5 minutes stage time. As you build a relationship with bookers, it'll increase to 8 minutes. And then when you're really, in your groove, in your community, then you'll start hopefully booking those 15-minute or even 20-minute spots. So when you do a mic, like Nate said, that's also workshop time. So you can succinctly tell your story. You can also work the hell out of your punches and your bits. But it's excellent to have the mindset of like, this is going to be me talking for a half hour one day with the expectation of this is probably what I'm going to get for, the first little while I'm really getting my bearings here. Also, to destigmatize the use of notes during mics especially, like a musician, consider it your set list. So it's just your bullet points. This is my tool of the trade. You can bring up like your water bottle and a napkin and what's hiding right there in my little notebook. So, you don't have to be obvious when you're referring to your notes. You can just like peer from the side. Again, I completely agree that like really best for mics, but sometimes you'll see comedians that don't have a lot of options for working out longer material. So they do that at paid shows, especially, arena acts that do local stuff. So with that being
You'll
said,
see it on Netflix. You'll see recorded specials where they literally have a binder. So it's not a no.
And then there's exceptions to the rules. Like we all, absolutely accept and embrace Richard Lewis for having a yellow legal pad. That's his shtick. So, like last week, those of you that were here, because we're performing today, I want to get us all nice and loose. You don't have to get up. And if it's helpful for you to do this before you go on and perform anywhere, I do these things in my car. So right now, let's just center ourselves. You can close your eyes, and anything I tell you to do, if you have limitations, do a modified version that fits you best, or don't do it at all. That's totally fine. So let's take a full inhalation and exhalation just to center ourselves. It's also a wonderful way to ground yourself when you're on stage. If you feel like the horse is riding you instead of you riding the horse. One more full inhale, exhale. And keep that nice full breath going as you let the weight of your head gently bring your chin to your chest. Keep that breath nice and easy and steady. And we're going to, again, use the weight of our head to let it start rolling to the right-hand side so that your ear goes by your right shoulder. Let the weight of your head bring your head back. Ease. Bring it to the left ear, left shoulder, and again, roll to that center position. We're going to do one more going this direction. Right shoulder, right ear, back. Left shoulder, left ear, center. Take one more breath here. Thank yourself for being here. You did it. And then let's just do on the left-hand side. Always good to do a counter thing when you're doing physical stuff. I don't know why, but it is. And slowly work to center, and then one more, left shoulder, left ear. Weight of the head brings it back, brings it to the right, and center again. And then shake that out, shake that out, shake that out, shake that out. Slowly open your eyes and bring your head up, roll your shoulders back, and forward for that counter movement. And then take your shoulders, squeeze them as comfortably as you can to force them next to your ears, and drop it. Shake it out. And one more time, squeeze up and drop it. And then give yourself just a nice massage of those cheeks. Very good. Bring that down. Shake those hands out. Make your face big, open, everything open, and squinch it together. And big and open, and squinch it together. And then have your water ready. We're going to do some vocal warm-ups, starting with Ha, Mommy May, My, Mo, Moo. Big breath. Ha, mommy made my moo moo. One more, a little faster. Ha, mommy made my moo moo. Third, fastest one. Ha, mommy made my moo moo. Very good. And then hit a hard B. Badagada. 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 Faster. Badagada, badagada, badagada. Very good. And then fishy wishy. Fishy wishy. Wishy, 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 wishy. Very good, guys. Thank you for that. Give yourselves a round of applause for humiliating yourselves. Just kidding. We're in a safe space. These are your homies. I'm so excited. All right, so just like last week, I am going to ask your name from the audience, and then I'm going to announce your name to bring you up. I'm your host, so shake my hand and then do your thing. If you need it, we got props. If you don't worry about it. I will let you know so you can feel 2 minutes, and then we'll give you the light when you have 1 minute left. Sound good?
Yes.
Hey, very good. And remember, big applause for your brave classmates. I also have to say, how about that looking at yourself on camera, right? How about that? That's one of my least favorite things of all time. I have lots of material on it. No, thank you guys for that. It is useful if you guys, when you're doing your mics, want to record your sets on your phone. I find it's kind of better to give it to a friend in the audience. That way you can, because if you bring it up with you, you're not getting a lot of the laughs. So if that's useful for you, steal it. I'm just looking at my comedy notebook here for stuff that I wanted to make sure I covered. We got all that? Okay, perfect. So, do we have a brave volunteer to go first? Yes. Tell me your name.
Walter.
Yep.
This is, if everybody knows, if you're on a comedy thing, or a book show, you see this, it means stretch. It means don't wrap your setup quite yet, because either the person coming up needs something, or the host needs something, or sometimes there's a sound question and they want you to deal with it until the next person comes up and they can fix it. So that means stretch. Also, it's something that I do when I'm making fun of a friend on stage.
All right, Nate, we good?
We are quite good.
That's okay. We're stalling for time.
Stretching.
Sits up, stretching as
Susie
you
had to suffer this last time when I forgot to record her set. And it's, Susie had to drop this time. She's going to take it during the next session. So everybody that takes the next one, well,
We'll see her again. Yeah, so while Nate is setting up, I'll just give you a couple other notes to keep in mind. If you're making a list, if you're listing out things, for some reason, our brains laugh at a third thing. So I had a da-da-da, I had a da-da-da. The third one is probably going to get a laugh. So as you're structuring your stuff, if you want to list it in threes, the rule of threes, I would highly recommend that. Also, funny sounding words, the K, the P, and the S sound. If you have a button or the end of your joke or bit, and you can incorporate those sounds, it's going to give you a little bit more of a punch. But enough about me. Let's bring on your first comedian. How about that? Woo! Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Walter! Woo! Hi, Walter. Thank you so much. Yes.
All right. Well, I don't know.
I have prompts for you, Walter.
Back to-
Would you like
yeah.
them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have 3 minutes worth of material here.
That's
So
fine. That's quite all right. Let's see. Do you have any thoughts on the video homework? Did you view any of the videos this week? It's okay to say no.
I watched some of them. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll let you get set up on the phone, and then when you want to hold and be by the mic, we'll get going.
Okay.
Perfect. Awesome. So, of the videos you watched, was it Mitch Hedberg or Tig or Kathy Madigan?
I watched all of them.
You watched all of them.
Yeah, don't expect me to quote them though. I
No, not at all, not at all. I'm more interested, Walter, what did you notice about their tone or the setup and structure of their jokes?
Well, I was just watching. I didn't really take a lot of notes on what they were doing.
Sure.
I'm just watching their style and trying to emulate it and that sort of thing.
When you say emulate it, you mean like you were
Bring it into my act.
Okay, all right. Did you work on any of that when you were watching it, or did you just?
No. I just watch for the comedic value of it. I want to see what they're doing and what they're talking about, and that sort of thing.
Makes sense to me. Did you see any shows or open mics this week? Like, did you go to
I did not. In fact, I wanted to go to the Monday night open mic,
That's right.
but I have severe memory problems,
Okay.
and so I thought it was at 5, and I was downtown having dinner early, ready to go to the show at 5, and then I realized it was 7. 7's past my bedtime, so I had to go home and nap.
I understand. Well, thank you for your attempt to show up. You're there every week. We appreciate you. And
Well, now that I know the time, I can plan a little bit better.
Fantastic. They also have an excellent menu that they just updated. So
There you go.
there you go.
Check that out.
Did you bullet point your life for us today?
Bullet point my life.
Yeah. So.
I was born.
Right.
I grew up.
That's 2. We want 5.
I have not had a successful relationship in 65 years. And now I'm in a great comedy class. Have 5?
That's
One more.
5.
Okay.
Oh,
One more?
sorry. That was 4. One more.
All right. Well,
How are you gonna die?
exactly. I figure I got about 10 good years left, so I'm going to use them doing comedy.
I love it. So you can feel, Walter, this is 2 minutes of your total
Okay.
5-minute time.
Okay.
And so I think you remember from last week, did you have any, well, before I get to that, did you have any material that you wanted to try and workshop on?
Yeah, so I have some stuff that I wrote.
Yeah, let's do
My
it.
theme is kind of going along with having sex in your 60s.
Okay.
So that's basically my theme.
All right, take it away. I will
All
let
right.
you when you have a minute left.
All right, so by a show of hands, how many people in the audience have had sexual fantasies involving their grandparents? Yeah, me neither. But that's kind of what you're facing in your 60s. I had a date last week, and it really went well. And so in the heat of passion, I ended up ripping off her depends with my teeth. Well, I thought she was wearing animal panties. Oh, it gets worse. Okay, and at my age, oral sex is an interesting situation. So, I know when the girl is ready for oral sex when she removes her dentures. That's what us boomers call a gummy. Heyo. All right, that's about what I got.
All right, brilliant. So I want you to stand up here, you're going to shake my hand, and then you can thank them and bring back your host. So if you want to just
All right.
practice that right now, thank you so much. Let's hear it from
Now you're gonna have to remind me what your name is.
My name is Emily.
Oh, that's right. All right, let's bring Emily back up here.
Hey! Thank you so much. Keep it going for Walter, everybody. Yes, Nick.
All right, cutting off Walter's applause. It's what producers do. I think if I'll give a note or something to people too, because it's a great opportunity. So everybody pay attention to the notes that they get because it's probably going to apply to some of your stuff, even not until you today. Funny. You had punchline.
Yeah.
Right? You knew you were going somewhere, but you set it up and then you change it. One of the things that we really often do when we work out material is find that lines need to be, or not need to be funnier, the punch to increase that hit value, you flip information, right? So like, when you're like, I took off her depends with my teeth. If we think they're edible panties first, and then there depends. That's a bigger hit.
Yeah.
Right? So you know and that's the thing. We know we have a joke a lot of the times. And if it doesn't hit as powerful as you think it should, then it's probably not as refined as it can be to get that tension.
So I was eating her edible panties when I realized they were Depends.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, what flavor are these? So exactly. You just take it to one step further every time. Yeah. Okay. Done.
No, you're fine. Nate Wyckoff, everybody. Nate Wyckoff. Yes, yes. All right. Once again, I'm your host. I am Emily. If you want to use my full comedian name, I'm Emily Lentz. That's also my legal name. Do we have another brave soul coming up to the stage next? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have you sit out just because you're new, if that's okay for now.
I was trying to rip that Band-Aid off.
Oh no, I appreciate the enthusiasm. Give it up for Boomer's enthusiasm, everybody. Yes, yes. And who did I see here from? Was it Mark? Mark. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, show some love and make some noise for Mark. Mark, just you get up here. You don't make me sit here. I'm gonna have to. You should have me in your host. Yes. Welcome. All right. Do you need the prompts this week, or would you like to start?
I'll try to.
Sorry.
I don't need the.
He doesn't need the prompts. All right, I will let you know when you're at 2 minutes, and I'll light you at 4 minutes.
Very often I'm watching television and I'll see something that literally I burst into tears. For instance, the other night I was watching the commercials or the things where they're donating for people that are starving. So I started thinking about all the people that go to bed hungry. And just a second, please. I need some help here. Anyway, I burst into tears. And thinking about all these people in the world that are starving kind of made me hungry. So I got out of bed and I realized, well, my wife's not home. If I remember correctly, she, with a couple of her friends, went away for the weekend for, what do they call it, where they do the sound baths and the a fat form. And Rosa, our housekeeper, who does these kind of things, she always goes home early on Saturdays. So I was at the house all by myself, still upset about, the whole starving situation. So I get up out of bed and I take a long walk down the hallway to I guess the kitchen. And I realize I forgot my slippers. So I turn around and walk all the way back and look through the room and I find my slippers and put on my slippers. I go back and walking toward the kitchen and I guess it was with a refrigerator. So I go to the refrigerator and I open both doors of the refrigerator and I stand there and I look, trying to figure things out here because I know I'm hungry.
You're at 2 minutes. Keep going.
And I really don't know what I'm going to be doing next. So I'm there long enough. All of a sudden, the refrigerator starts chiming at me. So I close the refrigerator and I walk back to my seat. I went back to my bed hungry and I just went to bed hungry that day. Then the other day after that, I started thinking about the 27 Club. Does anybody know what the 27 Club is? 27 Club is a list of celebrities that died at the age of 27.
Oh.
And again, I got emotional about it because I was thinking about all that talent that we lost, that what would have happened had Janice lived longer, had Jimmy lived longer, had Brian Jones, or on and on and on. And I thought, wow, what if I start my own list? What if I do a list of people who lived past 27, but their careers would have been better had they died? I'm thinking Boy George. I'm thinking Pamela Anderson. I saw her last movie and trust me. Tracy Chapman. Come on, fast car and then we're done, right? I you something. Sinead O'Connor. Right? Right? She kind of was considered genius for a short time. And who else? There's one more. I'm going to try to say something. No, that's good enough. I had some bad news this week because my wife's uncle is dying. Again, you know, I get emotional about these things. And they've been working on him for a while, and finally they just said, you know, we're going to let you go home and die in grace. Wait a second. No, that was my second wife. Oh, no. It was my first wife's uncle that was dying. What does that mean again? I'm sorry. I'm done?
Stretch.
Oh,
No, I gave you the light and I pointed at it.
Oh,
you knew it
okay,
was the
okay.
light.
Okay. Well, just I couldn't find my real red hat, so just use your imagination, okay? I'm sorry. Never mind.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Keep it going for Mark, everybody. Yes. Yeah. And again, just to get you in practice, when you're done with your set, we can say one more time for your host, Emily, and that will be my cue to come on up here, and that'll be good. All right, Nate, notes.
So, two things. One, there's value in going up there and trying to work from memory and running through material, even when you know, because it's new, you may have moments where you're buying time, right? Because it happens, right? But what will happen is the more you do it, and then watching the videos especially, you realize how you can cut the fat. Basically, we'll get it all down. Like when we start making a story, we tend to give too much information that we need. Just like you're writing a short story, they're often like, cut to it, right? Get to the chase. And so, like with yours, I liked that you could link everything with, I'm an emotional person. Like, I was watching TV the other day, and I started crying because they were showing a commercial about starving kids. And I thought, what can I do? And I went to the kitchen and got a snack. You know what I mean? You're cutting it way down. And then stuff like the 27 Club, Careers Day at 27, hilarious. There's so much potential.
Yeah.
When you work through it, Emily said the great total rule, which is the rule of 3, right? But you got to you give 3. Usually it's normal, fun, right? And for some reason 3, there's lots of psychology about this. It is something our brain recognizes and expects. Okay, it's one of the magic numbers. So if you were like Careers Day at 27, like you said Pam Anderson, Sinead O'Connor. The other thing is, so you want to end with a bigger one, maybe somebody that had no career, right? Maybe a really someone that just was so elite, it didn't happen. You could even then expand it, right? You could go, what about people whose careers didn't start until after 27? And it's like, and you're like,
Vera Wang, 40.
but name people who died before that, right? Who died at 27, but their careers did better after, and people start to realize that. There's things you can do, push it farther, trim it down, get those jokes. You'll also know, okay, I want to talk about my the fact that I'm sensitive or that I cry heavy, whatever. So start making a list, all the things that can make you cry, right? Something your kid does, something that you remember, or all those things, and you'll be able to build a lot of material off that. Okay. So trim down, you'll find where the jokes are, because starving commercial, there's jokes there, right? Going to bed hungry after a starving commercial, you're like, that's even better. It's like, what can I do? I skip dinner. Yeah. It's just these things that, again, it's the chart, right? You're circumventing what's expected. I wanted to do something about the starving people, so I donated. That's the expected, right? Or I turned off the TV. Everybody's heard that joke, right? So what are you actually going to give them? You're subverting their expectations. You're giving them something different, right? That is where you will be able to build jokes in everyone. So consider, I know there's a joke here. I know there's a joke down here. 27 Club, hilarious. The kitchen starving, so much potential. Trim everything else out and start listing points. Then you look at the point and go, is there something funny here, right? This is what I say, but I say something else that's similar or means the same thing in a tricky way. Like the edible panties and pets, right? Had the moment where you're like, I can supersize that. I can subvert it more, and so people don't expect it. Long way of saying it.
Yes, Dan.
One of the things I really loved was something that was very subtle, but it was also very strong. Was like when you went to the kitchen, you know, like you didn't really know the name of that, and you went to the refrigerator. I mean, I found that to be very, and you maybe didn't get laughs at that, but you brought us along and you created a picture of, you know, this is not your arena of comfort necessarily, is cooking and stuff like that. So I just want to bring that up, that I really found that to be very, very subtle and very funny.
And that's something we'll work on for homework this week, you know, it's that narrative thing. The other thing is too, when you have a moment like that, you can button with a joke, right? I went to the kitchen, I'm like, I don't know, I opened, you know, the whiskey, you know what I mean? Like, you just, something else, you can do those jokes. You can get something in everyone. If you want to keep it, make it fun, kind of thing.
When we get into improv, I think is week 4. And again, that's going to be a tool mostly like for how to handle things that come up spur of the moment while you're on stage, you know, heckling or what have you. But there is a book that I'm going to recommend just to expand on that topic. It's called Truth in Comedy. And a good thing to focus on in that book is the concept of the group mind. So like what Nate was saying, we subvert the expected. We, like when you were doing the cabinets with your hands, our brains were already going, cabinet, and you can even use that to like build tension, you know, like perhaps turn that into a character of like, he's so frustrated because he can't say the obvious thing. We're screaming at him. So just, you know, things like that to keep in mind.
One more time for Nate Wyckoff, everybody. Yes. All right.
Do you have another brave soul? Yes, all right.
Don't do that for me every time because I will not get it when I'm on stage.
The realistic expectations of Nate Wyckoff. Hold your applause, everybody.
And it's Deb?
Yeah.
Very good.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Deb!
Deb, do you need prompts this week or do you
Oh
want to
no,
just try to do a 5?
I've got plenty of material.
Very good. I'll let you know when you're at 2 minutes and then I'll light you at 4.
Hi everybody, I'm Deb Sellis. I this past year turned 83. Now, wait, some of you are looking at me and you're like, wait, she can't possibly be 83. But I found that the secret to looking and feeling good is to just do one simple thing, and that is lie. Now, some of you are looking at me here, and half of you are thinking, man, she really rocks that asymmetrical hairdo. And the others of you are saying, oh, that poor woman. Did she fall asleep when they were scalping the golf course? As you also know from last week, I recently got married. I became a widow when I was 47 years old, and boy, were the odds like stacked against me. I mean, for one thing, I was a priest. I'm over 40, approaching 50. And for God's sakes, I drive a Subaru. I mean, come on. So I did that thing about going and doing online dating. Plentyoffish.com. Yeah, there's plenty of fish if you like sharks and bottom feeders. So I had like totally given up on the dating thing until I met my husband, and we got married this past October. And you know, family and friends were there, except for my youngest sister, Bonnie. Now, all of you know, The reason that our families can press our buttons is because they're the ones that installed them. So, for example, my youngest sister, Bonnie, years ago when I first decided to study comedy back in Chicago, I get this scathing email from her. Dear Debbie, what the hell are you doing studying comedy? You're not the funny one. You're the smart one. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. In our family, see, you're frozen into place with whatever you were when you were 12 years old. Our other sister, Mary, is the pretty one. I was the smart one, and God forbid, Bonnie was the funny one. So I'm sorry I was stepping on her toes. When Doug and I got married, I said to our guests, I said, if one of you had put a $10 bet on whether a never married 77-year-old former hermit could find and marry a widow who had been a widow for over 25 years, and that they would have met in the gayest church in all of Christendom, in the gayest zip code, if you would place that bet, we would be getting married, we would have the reception on a yacht somewhere. And my dear Doug, God, I mean, he really is a unicorn. The man loves cooking and cleaning. He has God at the center of his life. Like the first time he got down on his hands and knees in front of me, it wasn't to propose to me, but it was to clean my kitchen floor. Now, another woman would have been embarrassed, but I've always figured, the concepts of cooking and cleaning are meant for other people and not for me. But we had our challenges last year. I hurt my hip, and Doug was such a good nurse. I mean, he drew me countless Epsom salt baths. He thought I was sexy, even though I had a salon pass poking out of my sexy underwear. And of course, some of you may be saying, well, Victoria's got a secret, babe, but it ain't you. That's okay. That's okay. Back to the family thing. Even Jesus had family issues. It's right there in the Bible. He's preaching and teaching, and it all comes to a screeching halt when he was in Nazareth. And I mean, talk about your sibling rivalry. Imagine being Jesus' brother. He probably said to him, where the hell do you get off, Jesus, being the popular one? You're supposed to be the holy one. Thanks, I'm Deb Sellers.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deb. Keep it going for Deb, everybody. Yes. And then Nate, you got notes?
I do. So, Deb, I introduced you before. You're comfortable on the mic. It's awesome. You have a great thing, which is a huge amount of topics to work from. You have you've listed you have age, you have newlywed, having lost a husband, playing fishing with dating, family pushes buttons. I love that line because they install them. It's great. And then you have your sisters. The roles: smart, pretty, funny. So any one of those, you could build easily a 5-minute set off, right? So what I would do from that is consider, keep building. If you think something's there, which usually is what happens when we bring it up, right? We think there's material there, then work on it all. And then what you'll do is you'll find your parts that you think are the most funny, and you will build your set with those. And also, you can then up your set when you do, in case you do get more time, as Emily said, by finding how will this work together, right? Because you are talking about your life. That is the thread of the whole thing. The other thing is, and Emily mentioned, 3. You'll start with 3 or 5, depending on where you are. If you're in LA, you'll start with 3. Here, 5 to 7, maybe, if you're lucky, depending. The other thing is, you want to have more material available if possible, because comics are chronically tired, chronically under and unemployed, and in many cases, stoned out of their mind. So what may happen is they may not show up, and then the producer needs fill time, and that's when you can get an opportunity to do more material. So you always want to be writing material. And what will happen is, it's just like anything we do, if you're a painter or anything, or a cabinet maker, you'll be tired of what you did before. It's still funny, right? So you can pull out those little chestnuts as you go. You'll do that when you see, or they'll do that when you see professional comics a lot. They'll be working out all their new material, and at the end, they'll tag on something from 4 years ago. Oh, I remember that, right? They know it's funny, they know it works. Most of the audience will still go along with it, and so they always have it. They have it in their back pocket. The other thing is, just to keep hammering in the rule of 3, you have opportunities for that, which would be great. There's plenty of fish, there's plenty of fish in the sea, sharks, bottom feeders, and then you could throw anything else in there, toxic waste barrels. I don't know, but you want to hit that last one even harder somehow.
Okay.
Or think of something like subverting expectations. Literally, as we talked about last week, the language. So, is there something related to fish that isn't actually a fish, but it's bad, that you could throw in there? You know what I mean?
You could look up the name of the bass player from the band Fish.
Right.
And
Fish
there
to
might be
see.
some fish heads that'll be like, oh, she gets me.
Exactly. And the other one is, I love the idea of the sibling thing. I think that there is something there. You have a lot of clever moments. The next task is to take those clever moments and make them into a real strong punchline moment. So I really loved the Jesus brother bit, because there's so much potential there. It's like, what do you do if you're Jesus' brother, and you have your jokes? Like, I can just imagine him, calling up Jesus, because that's funny anyway, calling up Jesus and be like, hey, what are you doing on the mount? There's 400 people there. I'm the popular one. You're the pious one, and then you add another tag, like, so clearly he needed attention. That's going to be obvious, which is why he turned to stand-up comedy. You're making it another button, another opportunity for them to laugh. And there's other opportunities. This would be dirty, but it doesn't matter. It's just the idea of how to subvert expectations. You have every time you say something, consider how it's playing into the next joke, or if it is the next joke. So the bit about you're going, well, everything was stacked against me, and I was older, and etc. Flip it, because that's the subvert. I think would be funny. Your husband, right? What was he doing, being unmarried at that age, right? And it's like, I know what you're thinking, right? Like why is he, how old he was, and having his own house, and not married. There's only one reason that would happen, right? Because Prop 8 hadn't been repealed. You know what I mean? Like, it's a gay joke, right? Because we're in Palm Springs. You're playing your audience. The other one, like, the only other time he got down on his hands and knees was to clean my kitchen floor. And then you go, that is a euphemism. You know what I mean? Like, something to keep upping the ante, and then when you know the well is dry, that's your time to go to the next. Supersize everything, and you've got tons of opportunities.
These are bits and pieces from other longer open mics and stand-ups, so I've done some of that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
And keep working. Open
Yeah,
mics are really important. Don't feel ashamed or worried. Everyone, even better comics, like more experienced comics, and there's always somebody better, there's always somebody worse. They may bomb at an open mic.
Yeah.
It's new material, right? Plus every audience is different. So, sorry.
No,
I'm
no
just
need to
trying
apologize.
I'm just trying to get Emily House on board.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's good. And I just wanted to mention briefly as we move forward, is it Rigo?
Yeah.
Very good. And Boomer? Just prepare yourselves. We had a getting to know you activity the first week. So I'm going to take like a quick minute at the beginning of your set and just ask you who are some comedians or styles of comedy that you like gravitate towards, and why you are taking a stand-up comedy class. Awesome. Okay. Is there another brave soul that wants to go next? And you have now. Is this 5 minutes you wanna do, Boomer, or you want some prompts?
I mean,
There are no wrong
I'll
answers.
go up there and we'll see what happens.
I love it.
However long it happens.
Very
If we
good.
get 5, that'd be good. But probably gonna need some prompts though.
Oh, absolutely. So what
Okay.
I'll do is I'll let you know so you can feel it in your body when you're at 2 minutes, and then I'll give you the light at 4 minutes. And if you guys could, you don't have to do this in the real world, but it just helps me. When I'm holding the light back there on my phone, if you could just give me like a quick nod or a point or something, just so I know that I'm being obvious about it. Alrighty. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Boomer!
All right, Emily, everybody, Emily. Emily. Okay, I know I started off right now like I know what I'm doing up here, but I don't. I wrote down a bunch of stuff that I thought was funny. I don't know if they're jokes necessarily, but that's why I came to the class, because I wanted to try to figure out how to make these actual jokes. So just silly stuff in my head that I've had for a little while. So you want to take that minute?
Yeah, let's take that quick minute. So
Okay.
Boomer, if you could just tell us why you're taking the stand-up class and some of the stand-up comedians that you like or styles of stand-up or just comedy in general that you gravitate towards.
So the reason why I'm taking the class is because basically my wife takes an improv class and she wanted to sign up for this class, and I was just kind of jealous that she gets to do everything all the time. And so I thought, hey, if you get to take the improv class, I think I get to take the stand-up class. And so I kind of weaseled her, out of it and kind of got myself in there because she signed up for the class for herself. I don't even think that she expected me to even say anything. I thought she was just going to expect me to say, okay, babe, have fun. Go on, get out there and get them. But I said, I'd like to go do that. Some of my favorite comedians, I guess, top number 1, Jeselnik, I think. I like his style. I like how he's, he's not, he's mean, I guess. Not mean, but he says those things that you're not supposed to say. I listened to an interview with him, and he said basically being start over. Hey everyone, Boomer! Being a good comic is it's what you can get away with. If you say a joke and nobody laughs, you didn't get away with anything. You just look like a dick. So I like that. I like being able to say stuff. A lot of the stuff I think I have in here is probably that's probably gonna be a little bit, I don't know where you are with Jesus these days, but I got I'm talking a lot of shit about him in here with mine. So yeah, Jeselnik, the last 3 years in a row, my number 1 Spotify has been Gaffigan. It's Gaffigan. I think it was Gaffigan, Jeselnik, and I think the Pixies. My top 3 in my Spotify playlist.
Keep going, Boomer. You've been talking for 2 minutes, just so you know what it feels like.
Okay, thank you. So that's some of the Jeselnik, Gaffigan. I like. I really like. Who's good? Obviously Hedgeberg. Hedgeberg was probably one of the first guys I listened to on repeat. I got his CD, Mitch Altogether, I think it was, and I just listened to that. And I remember just always having that cadence of Hedgeberg, and it was just in my head, and I would always say stuff to my mom, and she'd say, like, "What are you doing? Like, you sound like you're a weird person." Just because it was always just, I just listened to him, and I'd say, just like quick, but let's see what I got written down here for a little bit. I have a joke about healthcare. I don't really know what the joke is, but I know the punchline is deny, defend, oppose. I know that. I know that's that one. I got a funny one here. I think it's pretty funny. It's called you guys know about these gender reveal parties and stuff, right? You see them all over the news. People burn down half of the state because they want to let everyone know that their child's a girl or whatever. My wife and I, we had a baby, and we discussed like a gender reveal sort of party or what we were gonna do as far as revealing the gender of our child. And I just thought, that's not really like my style. That's not really like my family. We're not really like a gender reveal kind of party. We're more of like a verdict reveal party, where you're gonna go there. We're gonna say, get the whole family together. We're all gonna be in court, and then we get the cake out, cut the cake. Guilty fuck. So, you know, everyone say bye to your uncle. We're not gonna see him for a while. I got to okay, what about like an Easter where Jesus doesn't come back? So it's kind of like a Weekend at Bernie's situation. And so we gotta kind of prop him up so everyone thinks he came back. That way the thing still kind of makes sense that he, you know, died and came back for your sins. Oh yeah, so I want to start a cult. My main goal is to start a cult. I think about like Chris Rock. The way Chris Rock talks, he thinks he's like a preacher. Like he's up there, he says the same thing. He hammers at your head. If he was speaking on, you know, not just doing jokes, but doing like actual like, you know, social commentary on real things and like being like a, you know, like a social activist, I feel like he would be a good sort of social activist. So I want to start a cult. But the way I want to kind of do it is I want to, as I recruit people under my cult, the more people, it's sort of like a pyramid scheme, right? So if I can recruit 5 people to be in my cult, then they can recruit 5 people. Now I don't have to pray anymore. Because now I have all these people underneath that. They're praying for me, so I'm getting all that praise. And that's coming up. So the more people you have underneath you, that's the more salvation that you get. And so you can go ahead and do that. All cancels out sins. You know, if we're not sinning, then Jesus died for nothing.
It's time, Boomer, if you want to thank everybody and bring me
All right, thank you guys. It's your time, Emily. Just want to back to the stage.
Keep it going for Boomer, everybody. Boomer. And keep it on over to Nate for notes.
You have a lot of great stuff there. I just like the fact that you pushed your wife out of the class to take a class. That's the kind of demand that I want to engender.
I didn't write that down. I just thought that was up there.
So your Faith Comics, great list. I think we had Gaffigan in the Clips list last week. Gaffigan is always, you kind of can't go wrong with watching any of his stand-ups because he is one of those that, especially in the last few years since lockdown, he has consistently put out several a year. And you can see how some are at least one a year. And you can see how, I think they're all funny, some are stronger than others. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's what happens when you are consistently putting output. So another comic may not even have as good material or as regularly, but you'll see a special from theirs 2 or 3 years later, and you're like, that was amazing, so much better than the last 2 sets of Gaffigan. I laughed more or something, or it's a little more shocking. They had 3 years to work on it. Gaffigan has 3 times as much material, right? So creating material is really great. Jesselnick, shot comic, right? That's
that's what I was looking for.
yeah, shot comic.
Shot comic.
It is. I like how you share what he said, which it's what you can get away with. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because you can be funny, or you can be hated, and it can turn on a dime in your audience. It's not. It's a shock auteur thing. It's not impossible or wrong. You just have to be aware of the risk, right? So, like Mark, when he said Sinead O'Connor, there's definitely a joke there, but she just committed suicide, last year. Could be touchy. You got to be aware of it. So you either have to have a joke, or you want to choose something that's not going to draw attention to it as much. You have, one of my favorites is Daniel Tosh, and he's pretty funny, but he's like, I did it, which is true. He's like, I did a commencement speech at a high school graduation, and I said,
Felons.
right, I see felons. I'm going to give you a big thing. No, the people that are 1% don't need my help. I'm telling you, I see felons in the audience. Some of you are going to die in a drunk driving accident tonight. That's extreme, right? And it depends on the audience. But he builds his audience that understands that. The other difference is that Justin not so much, because he's like almost a Hedbergian kind of quick. Like he has a bunch of little ones, and he's more. It is about the shock. Whereas some other people like Sarah Silverman, she's a shock comic. She really started as a shock comic, but she had, which sounds like you have a social concept behind a lot of it. So when she would make a joke that is off color, it also was really pointing out some sort of sociological problem. Like her joke, which obviously she doesn't do anymore. She's talked about it, but at the time, it was one of those. As a Jewish woman delivering it, you're like, okay, it pointed out some insane stereotype we have. Like, she's like, I have unprotected sex. I know the easiest time to get pregnant is when you're an 18-year-old black girl, right? Like, really shocking stuff. But that's even harder. But the butt of the joke is really that we got it, right? It's not so much that, it's not that she's making fun of black people. She's saying, you thought that. I didn't put that in your head. If I put that in your head, you'd be confused, right? But you're not confused, you're offended. It's different. So that's something to think about with shock comedy anyway. When you know you've got a joke that's really there, consider it. As you said, like a punchline of deny, defend, oppose, right? The Luigi bit. The thing about, my wife has done comedy, she's very funny, an actress, but she also is like a fiery, very liberal, like a firebrand, right? So when she does comedy, it was always, especially when Orange County was more conservative, there was always a hard line to follow between being angry and funny or just being angry. And sometimes when we're really passionate about something, it's too hard to write about at that time because we will get, the audience feels attacked because we get aggressive, and we're not trying to attack the audience. We're trying to fire them up, right? But it's hard to do. So what I suggest for things like the deny, defend, oppose is when you do it, you do kind of what Maria Bamford does, which is you subvert it. So, he wanted to solve the problem with deny, defend, oppose. I want to solve the problem by, getting annexed by Canada. I don't know, it's not a funny joke, but like you actually make the joke not serious, but by bringing it up, you are pushing the topic forward. So you're doing it in a way where people who maybe have initially a different view than you, no matter how wrong it may be, you aren't offending them, but you are making them think about it. And that's a great way to do that because you avoid getting too angry or passionate, right? And then in your real life, you can be as passionate and frustrated as we want. Gender reveal is fucking hilarious. You can probably get additional things even from that and tighten that up. The Weekend at Bernie's was also very funny. The cult thing, you can have, there's a lot of material. Like I'm telling everyone, any topic that you and Craig can talk about is a potential. So if you don't have jokes with it, find a way to cut it out. So the cult thing, you also could be like it's like a pyramid scheme. I just want the adoration, so I gotta collect people, I gotta do this. I just need a name.
It's Jesus.
Jesus. I like that.
I got it. It's right. I just didn't get to that part, but I got the Jesus stuff in here too.
And you could do it too, where you could pull on something that already exists, right? It's like I've already started it. It's amazing. It's called Arma, right? Like you're pulling something, or Mary Kay, whatever the case might be. Play to your audience too. If there's an older audience, because there's older retirees, Mary Kay may work better, right?
Amway.
right. Cutco.
Prompts, just like last time, I'll let you know when it's 2 minutes, and then I'll give you the light at 4. If you want to just give me a nod or a point so I know that you see it. Without any further ado, put your hands together for Jeff.
I want to talk about my friend Rob. He's been my best friend forever. He used to live in LA, now he lives in New York. A few months back, my husband and I went to visit him. And Rob's a great guy, but we're walking around New York and he's super nervous that day. I don't know why he was nervous, but I keep seeing him looking at his watch. I'm like, Rob, what's going on? What is wrong? Why are you so nervous? He says, we have to be somewhere. I have planned for you the quintessential New York experience. Now, I've known Rob for a long time. I know that the quintessential New York experience is not going to be the quintessential New York experience, but let's go with the flow. I'm thinking, what could that be? Maybe we're going to the Statue of Liberty. We're going to a Broadway show. We're going to piss in Trump Tower or on Trump Tower. What I did not anticipate was that we would wind up on 14th Street and look up to a sign that said, Chinese foot massage. Now, I know some of you are thinking this story has a happy ending. It does not.
we walk upstairs to the Chinese foot massage, and what this place is literally it's a row of chairs with some Asian person giving massages to people's feet all the way down the row. And we get to the top, and the proprietor says to my friend, "Do you want male or female therapists?" And my friend looks at me and says, "Do you want male or female therapists?" And I'm thinking, no. This is your quintessential New York experience. You choose. And I'm also thinking to myself, why does this matter? Like, why do I care? Or why does anyone care whether it's a male or female therapist? But we go with it. And he says, because he has his husband there, I have my husband there. He says, we'll go 2 and 2. 2 male, 2 female. And I think, okay, why did he choose that? I don't know. I don't understand. But go with the flow. I sit down. I have a female therapist.
Your 2 minutes, keep going.
Now, if this had happened once or twice, I probably wouldn't have thought about it. But after about the 15th time that this woman's breasts rubbed against my feet, I'm thinking, the tit to toe ratio here is way higher than I anticipated. And I'm thinking, well, is this part of the quintessential experience? I look around, I look down the row, and I'm like, no one else seems to be getting the booby prize, but here I go. And then I start thinking, well, wait, is there something I should be doing as part of this? Like, am I supposed to like push down on her breasts, or do I do the foot motor board thing? And I'm checking around the areola, but finally I'm like, thinking, well, wait, what if I had chosen the male therapist? We'll forget it. My husband can talk about that. Anyway, I say to myself after what, this is taking a while. Is there more to come here? Like, what if she's lactating? I mean, would that mean? I mean, my feet might be more supple at the end of the milk bath massage, but anyway, we finally end. It's finally over. We are about to. We're walking out. We're about to leave. The proprietor says to my friend, "How are you going to pay for this?" It's only $15. And my friend says, well, I'll pay for 2, and then points to me and says, he'll pay for 2. I'm thinking, you know what? If you provide the quintessential New York experience to your friend and it's a $15 foot massage, just pay for it. But no, I guess ultimately for me, it wasn't the quintessential New York experience, but it was titillating. I think my time's about up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One more time for Jeff, everybody. Yes! Nate, notes?
Yeah. So, and you'll never knock those from me. Everyone's this is like when I'm teaching anything. I'm like, get ready. There will never be a perfection. Well, they're pretty. If I laugh, it's good. Perfection. I laughed. So trim out stuff that doesn't matter. Obviously, your best friend Rob. I think you said he used to live in LA, now he lives here, but you guys were in New York. So cut it out. You know what I mean? We don't need to do back and forth. My husband and I were visiting my friend Rob and his husband in New York, or on a trip. The other thing too is you can, if Rob is the introduction to this, and he kind of has to be because he's the one that's putting this in motion, then you could phrase it as, he's a weird guy. Example, you go into it, right? And then you can wrap up with another joke there. The titillating, that's the button I was talking about, right? It's not the end of the story, really. The story's end is that he made you pay and you guys left, right? But that titillating is that wordplay is the joke Chinese foot massage that is hilarious. You had some good jokes in there. Words can be funny, can also backfire. There's certain words that essentially you don't say unless you're really pushing the envelope, like Tosh or Justin or something. Obviously, things like rape, it used to be Nazi, it's not so much anymore. But there are things like that. Others are just gross sounding to some people, right? Like moist. You're using that intentionally. You'll see people in the audience recoil. It can be used to your advantage. Lactation is going to be one of those that just about every straight man in the audience, because we're socialized to be ridiculous, is going to be like, right? Well, there'll be a few that are not. So you can consider if it's a word that is necessary or enhances the joke, go with it. If it's a word that actually might hang up the person and cause them to sort of miss the impact of your punchline if it's really close after, consider changing. Like, you could just say, what's next? Milk bath? You know what I mean? They're gonna get the connection, they'll still get a joke. It's just, you have to make the decision, right? And you can try it at open mics, but I've had that problem where if I use a word, Holocaust is another one. If you use that word,
Unless you're Mel Brooks. Yeah.
right, yeah. So consider that. You sort of got good bookends to this bit, and you can, the tip to toe ratio, again, you've got a good sense of word play and sounds, which it's a big clown thing, right? Like K sounds are funny, some T sounds, etc. Onomatopoeia and alliteration, it works. So consider that. I might even think about Rob then. What other things has Rob done? What is weird? And you don't have to, you can tell us it's weird and then next week. Right, exactly. Because it's perfect. Like, I have really weird friends too. And so making jokes about them is delightful. And when you're not friends anymore, making jokes about them is actually extra delightful. So, awesome.
Very cool. All right, who's next? Great song going. Oh my goodness. You've had your hand up twice, so I'm going to bring you up. You have, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's David.
David, yeah.
Put your hands together for David. All right, now, David, do you have a full 5, or do you want some prompts today?
I might. I don't know.
Okay, no problem. Just like
I'm
with
gonna try.
everyone, I'm going to let you know when you're at 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'll light you at 4 minutes. Just give me a nod or a wink so I know you see the phone light at 4 minutes, all right?
Okay.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna try to not hold this, which I don't normally do, but just because I like to talk with my hands. I took this class because I wanted to talk about some experience. I wrote a book about getting bullied and stuff like that, and I wanted to be able to talk about that comfortably, And but I just had some in doing the homework. I wrote some stuff because I also grew up Catholic. Is anyone Catholic here or grew up Catholic? Just a few former, recovering, right? Yeah. That's me. So there's something about Catholicism that's always bothered me. And it's not the hypocrisy, and it's not the sexism, it's not even the sex abuse. It's the cannibalism. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but the church, the whole mass is built around, hour-long mass, which 30 minutes, you got a good priest, is built around this priest on an altar transforming a little wafer and some cheap red wine into the body and blood of Christ. And then he consumes it right in front of everybody. And then people, that just doesn't sit right with me. Does that not sit right with me? That just does not sit right with me. And then the whole congregation then lines up to eat the body of Christ. It's just not sitting right with me. I mean, when I get in line, I want to be like, when the priest says to me, body of Christ, I want to be like, which part? Is this breast? Do we have breast meat today or thigh? Because I really like dark meat. And then I can hear the person behind me being like, ribs sound good. And I'm like, yeah, ribs do sound good. Do you have any ribs in there? I don't know. I don't know if that's so. The other thing is, I was an altar boy for 4 years. I don't know if anyone else has done that work, but at my church, there was a giant crucifix of Jesus hanging, and then 3 chairs below it for the priests and 2 altar boys. Okay? And I would literally spend, as an altar boy, I would spend the time up there when we had nothing to do, just sit there and listen, and I would be like, just trying to get a peek under Jesus' loincloth. I just wanted to see if I could see anything. You know what I mean? I just wanted to see if I could see anything because I was just curious. Right? Nobody ever wanted that? Okay. So, there's several versions of Jesus that I think we all kind of know. You know what I mean? Like images. Like when you think of Jesus, we all have an image of our mind, right? There's the baby Jesus, which everybody loves the baby Jesus. We celebrate that every year. And then there's carpenter Jesus, which, I don't think there's enough stories about, we don't hear enough stories about carpenter Jesus because I really want to know, like, what kind of carpets was he installing? So, I mean, as a carpenter, right? That's what he was installing carpets. I don't know. So we need more story. And then there's CrossFit Jesus. We all know CrossFit Jesus. And it's so, it just looks so good up there, right? Like that's what I want to know more about. And then of course Zombie Jesus. We all know Zombie Jesus, which is my favorite Jesus. Zombie Jesus. So I wanted to kind of do this impersonation of two gay guys at the crucifixion. Okay, I've never done this before, right? But I just want to try it. So I'm picturing two gay guys at the crucifixion, and they're like, oh, what a shame. I had no idea he had such a great body. I know. When did he have time to work out? Well, he made him carry that cross all the way up here, so well, that'll do it. I just wish that loincloth would fall off. Don't you ever wonder, how big his dick was? Well, I heard it was small. Who said that? Peter. Well, you know who has a big dick? Who? Satan. Who told you that? Mary. Oh, God. Okay. Well, he's not the father. All right. So let's see. What else do I have here? Okay. So I do know that Satan has a big dick, and that's because I used to follow him on Twitter. Oh yes, thank you. What else? Let's see. What did that? Okay. So yeah, I guess that was everything that I had for this week. Okay, that was my class. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Good job. Yeah, very good. One more time for David, everybody. Yes.
So that's great. So Catholicism it's on one hand it's an easy target, on the other hand it's always giving us new material. So I'm all for it. You will always have, again, thinking about audience. You don't want it to be like first in your mind all the time, unless you're getting a specific gig. For example, if you get a gig and it's a family-friendly gig or it's an open air, then you have limitations within it. If you're working like I did once at a memory care center, short jokes. But think about that. So Catholicism will always have an audience of some people, and you did a good job of not using terms that someone unfamiliar would usually use transubstantiation or anything like that. Which, sure, if you're a Catholic, will come up every 5 seconds. So that's great. I think, and if you do use a word that they don't know, you're using it to get a joke somewhere, right? Under the loincloth of Jesus, you can phrase things in a way that ups, as I've said before, that moment of surprise, that flip. I was an altar boy, and I didn't mind it, but I always went home with a sore neck because we all sat underneath the crucifix, or Jesus on the cross, and I was right in the middle going, and you probably need more context, but that kind of thing. You're switching it up a little bit just to get the maximum punch. Baby Jesus, carpenter, what kind of carpet's he installing? There's definitely stuff there. There's definitely CrossFit Jesus. I'm a big fan of, huge fan of that. The gay guys at the crucifixion, there's so much material you could probably come up with. It's just a matter of getting it and then trimming out what you are like, okay, this, because I always say I have my good material and I got B material and I have C material. If they're really eating out of your hands, C material is kind of funny because it's usually the groan moment. But B material is always great because it's that you're hitting them once more before they've caught their breath, right? Not fast, you're letting them get it, but they're still laughing right at the end. It's that magic moment. That's the other thing. When you're delivering jokes, we have a tendency, especially when we're a little nervous, to speak quickly. And everybody here has been pretty good about waiting for the laugh, okay? And you'll get used to waiting for the laugh, and when it doesn't come, moving on. The other thing too is, and we'll talk about this more in crowd work and stuff, but Mark did it with a couple of breaks, and it was great, is you can actually address when something doesn't work. You just don't want to do it all the time because it breaks the tension. People like that. They feel better, they laugh. But sometimes you fall in the trap of, if I had a couple jokes in a row, that one didn't work, that one worked in my mind, or it's like whatever. People will laugh because you're giving them permission. Like, I know that didn't work. They like it. Feels like a joke. If you do it several times, you better have some new material with that comeback because people will start to think, I actually don't think this was a mistake. I think this is their best material. Okay, so be careful about that. That's not specifically for you, but you have just a lot of places where you can expand. How do you know Satan has a big dick? Because I follow him on Twitter. And what's his tag? Elon. I don't know. There's stuff you can do in there. We have. Our audience here will be like 75% gay. So you can get away with a lot. Just make sure that you're maximizing the jokes you keep in there because there's so many that you're gonna be able to come up with. You want the best punch every time. And you're also doing that thing where you're not actually making fun of Christianity in that bit, you're making fun of gay culture, right? And so you kind of are moving from a topic to another topic so seamlessly that you're working on multiple bits under the same thing. Okay. So yeah.
And then just one more thing I wanted to add to what Nate was saying. When it comes to making fun of groups, if you're a member of that group, we as an audience member are gonna be more with you. Absolutely. Otherwise, it could be, especially depending on where you're performing, seen as punching down. And you talk about a lot about status, like what is funny in a comedy dynamic is a high status person being humiliated by a low status person, like the awful boss who's a dick being constantly undermined and made to look a fool by his underling employee. We love that. We root for that guy. But if you come from a place of just like anger and punching down, it's not going to give you that same connection as it would if it was like, I'm going to make fun of myself, my own community, my own people, in a playful way that makes you feel like you're part of that community for that short amount of time. So, hands together for Marilyn.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say, last night I saw Earthquake who was really funny. I don't know if anybody's ever seen any skits he's done or whatever. He was fantastic. And talk about firing off these, when you were talking about having things in threes, I was thinking he came out and talked about, Trump being elected, and he right away started saying, like if you're Spanish, don't go to Home Depot. Don't, if you're selling food on the street, don't sell American food and speak English. And he was rattling off stuff that was just so funny and so quick. It was really amazing. Anyway, I'm going to see shortly Rita Rudner, who's from Sublime to Ridiculous or Ridiculous to Sublime, whatever. I'm going to see her this afternoon too.
And her delivery is great.
And what?
Her delivery is great.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, okay. So I wrote down, I can sort of see already where I'm going to be going wrong, and that is, I sort of liked, after listening to the comics we listened to for the week, I sort of liked the narrative idea. Mm-hmm. So I started to tell a story. My story is all kind of a running theme about aging.
Yeah, love it.
it's a difficult thing to do. I wake up in the morning sometimes, look in the mirror and think, not bad. And then I could look the next morning and think, I've got to kill myself. Dating as I'm aging has been challenging. I went from sort of being a woman of a certain age to now a woman in my 60s, and now I'm a woman in my latest 60s, almost to be 70, which is terrifying. I had breast cancer when I was in my 40s and got divorced in my 50s, and I was really, really terrified about what it was going to be like to date. And I remember telling a girlfriend of mine, how am I ever going to how am I going to meet a man and tell him that I'm missing a breast or I have one fake breast? And she said very sympathetically, like, well, maybe you can meet a nice guy with one ball. Oh, thank you. My aging body is challenging. I'm very, conscious about being fit. I work out all the time, but there's just some things I can't do anything about. I've got a crepey neck, and I've got arms that are getting wrinkly, and my flat, saggy ass is something. No matter how hard I work, I can't get it to be any firmer than it was, like it once was. In fact, I have these little sort of like X's, like a little X wrinkles on the bottom of each cheek, sort of like. I don't know, it looks like XOX if I take a certain pose. Sending my love from my old saggy ass, I guess. Other things like my feet, they used to be quite nice. Now I've got sort of knobby ankles, and my second toes are turning into face my big toe, and my heels are kind of cracked, and not the real popsicle toes I once had in my day, but I'm seeing a guy who has to cut his toenails with cable cutters. So it's all relative, I guess. Bedroom lighting becomes kind of a thing. It has to be kind of enough lighting with candles or backlighting to sort of see the form, yet nothing that's going to gross you out. So there's a little bit of a balance there. Sort of turning off lights so that you can get turned on, I guess. I like to say, in the dark, all cats are gray. So, older dating happy hour is really just slightly delayed day drinking. I mean, it can start at about 2 o'clock. You can drink for a good 5 hours and still make it home in daylight, which is, what a lot of people do here in Palm Springs. Managing my money has been a real thing. It's a constant challenge. I have a variety of strategies. I save money, of course, that's crucial.
Maryland, DC.
Oh, thank you. Spending money, try to be frugal, but other times conspicuously over the top, and then I'll go to sleep, wake up hours, sit up straight, grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and figure out how much money I have left to survive. And I realize I can be pretty comfortable as long as I die at about 78. I'm very tech savvy, I think, for my age. I have an iPhone that I can use. I don't have that clicking sound that people sometimes still have, or that song that plays like an organs by the sea, that ringing tone that people have. I don't have that, but I do type with just one finger, and I don't do the two typing, where young people, that's the division of age between people typing with thumbs and two hands versus one. I have an iPad, which I can use, and I have 2 laptops. One is for my business and personal, and the other is strictly for porn.
That's your time, Marilyn. Thank you so much.
Keep it going for Maryland, everybody.
Excellent. I was gonna say, I love how everyone has a variety of material, and there's blue material. There's very few comics have all blue material. It actually is not common because it's also not people expect it, right? It's a form of a shock comic moment, right? And so people get tired because you lose the effect. So then they're expecting something off the wall every time. And everybody seems to have a pretty good innate sense of mixing that up. Aging is always a good topic in any audience, especially Palm Springs, but any audience. I mean, if you go to Palm Desert and half your audience will be in the grave by the time your set's over. I live there. Dating is always good. You have lots of opportunities. So when you say breast cancer in my 40s, divorce in my 50s, that's a great opportunity to say something subverting it. So basically, divorce was, it's like the divorce was, was the universe helping me out. Basically it's better. Like that was good. You sounds like you could be listening to bad things, and you're like, actually, you're saying something we don't expect. Right? The XOX app is a hilarious bit. Again, you'll tighten it up as you go, because really, again, you can shorten things so much that could be written on a popsicle stick, right? My ass eggs have these X's underneath these cheeks. So when I bend over, it's like I'm saying, I love you, XOX. There's some way to do that. You've also got other great ones, like every interesting fact you had in there, joking, right? You're like, I have knobby ankles, whatever. It's like every time I walk out barefoot, my gardener tries to pull up, tries to trim my feet, like they're not roots, whatever the case is. So there's opportunities for that. One of my favorite things I've heard was happy hours, just delayed day drinking. That is brilliant. It's one of those jokes that's so universal, any comic could deliver it and get a laugh. It's great. Money Man's comfortable. As long as you can even up it, make it more ridiculous. As long as I died 2 years ago. It's just because we get the same idea, but it's absurd, so we don't talk.
All right, who's next? Very so. Yes, and it's Nathan. Nathan, very good. Nathan, do you have a full 5 you want to do, or do you want a little prompts too?
I'll do some prompts.
Okay, Nathan.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Nathan. Alrighty, did you see anything in the homework that spoke to you?
No, I did a lot of procrastinating.
I love that. Honestly.
Yeah, you ever have something you signed up for makes you so anxious that you start putting it off aggressively? Yeah, that's what I've been going through. And it's really bad when you're procrastinating so hard that you start doing things that you had been procrastinating before. I have to write these jokes. So I'm going to clean the bathroom, that kind of. At this point, I'm going to have my taxes done before February. So, and this whole process, I've realized that I just can't read my handwriting very well. Because it's per day. I'm supposed to come up with 5 topics. I misread that, and I thought it said just come up with 1 topic, and then just throw yourself down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Much like you throw a baby down a well. So when we do storytelling, I have a leg up on that because I just wrote about the same thing all week. And it basically centered around you spend hours with on the couch and he's trying to convince you that you have schizophrenia. But it's just so you'll buy him a soda stream. He's trying to convince you to allow his college buddy from South Africa to crash on your sofa and boost ketamine.
Keep going, there's time for 2 minutes.
2 minutes already, Jesus. So, I didn't do anything except write about all this crazy shit. And give me some prompts, because this is like not in any order.
Did you see a show or a performance?
I did. I went to this lovely open mic night at Hotel Zoso.
He's a plant. I host that night. Yes, keep going.
And, just to kind of like take that scab off and get it bleeding. Though I was way too nervous to do anything. I just like observed, like lurking around. Because over like the past few years, I've just been studying on how to become a goblin shut-in with the help from my boyfriend, the internet. Oh, so like back to this nightmarish internet boyfriend. I have like a bunch of these. It's like I have all of these like algorithms that are like manipulating me, implying me, and making me crazy. It's like the worst harem ever. So one of my algorithm boyfriends, he keeps recommending me these videos that are like so disturbing that I'm afraid to I can't even click on them. It's like I made the mistake of watching a true crime video, and then now YouTube is like, oh, you like that? You like true crime? I think we should be watching all the true crime. All the true crime. So, yeah. So here's like just like an example. Oh, the light. I have 1 minute? Oh my God. Oh God, it's dissociating there for. Okay, so this one video. Hunter discovers 29 human body parts in the desert. Like, Jesus, YouTube, what are we doing here? And then like the thumbnail, and I'm just staring at this thumbnail, and it's this tense looking sheriff. And the caption is, there are 9 legs and several arms. And my first thought, once like my vision cleared, was like, well, they counted all of the legs. But then they just like gave up when they got to the arms. Like 7, 8, 9, and then the arms. Those arms. And it's like, that's the time. Oh, that's fun. Well, thank you. Let's welcome back Emily Lentz. For this all out of my memory. I'll just let it back to you.
Here we go. Keep it going for Nathan, everybody.
It's great. Keep in mind that Nathan's a liar and he writes material and tells us he doesn't. No, so the procrastinating bit is hilarious. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, like I get it. No cameras. I'm just kidding." So that's a great moment. I liked. You can even every little thing that's a topic. See if you can up it some more. Like you've got the great line. Like, have you ever procrastinated so aggressively that you do other things you were procrastinating? It's like, I just took this class to get my taxes done. You know what I mean? Like you're just cutting out the fat to get to that bam moment. The bad relationship with algorithm, that's a gold mine. When you said it's like constantly convincing me that I'm schizophrenic, just so I'll buy the soda stream. Like you upped it beyond what you had to make it even better. That's that moment. You doubled it up. From because schizophrenic is kind of funny enough in some ways. Schizophrenic. Hopefully, you have a good sense of humor. One of you does. So the worst harem ever is another good line. There are cases. So the algorithm is going to depend on how you organize it. This is just a good point for everyone. Specificity equals humor. So if you have an option, you'll end up. This is not something fun. It's like writing an academic paper for high school or English 101 in college. Like they're gonna be like, yeah, but narrow your thesis. You can't write about why religion is bad or why religion is good because you have like that's a book and more, right? Be like, my experience at this church was bad because this. That's all specifics. So you could consider. At first, I was gonna say just pick a social media app, right, and use that. but you do kind of have the harem joke requires multiple. So just consider how you can do it, how you can introduce that concept to people who may not even know what an algorithm is, right? That's one of those few times you have to give a little bit of background. You'll be able to do it with a joke. Get a joke in there, you know? That is probably the biggest note I had. There's other ones too, like true crime. You had bits in there that when you try to get a joke in every single thing, including introducing information they need to know. Like I watched one true crime documentary, YouTube's like women getting murdered, here you go. You know, like it's just try and say things in a way that is another opportunity to subvert expectations, right? True crime equals women getting murdered, right? Like does somebody have was it you, Emily, who did the strip club bit with the?
No, that was this past Friday at Hotel Zoso. There was a comedian, Caitlin Gill, who is hilarious. She's local.
So funny.
She did a bit about a strip club in Portland.
Right. Yes.
And I'm not gonna, because I can't remember it word for word, but the crux of it was, okay, it's a strip club in Portland, and they're playing Law and Order SVU on the television. Who is this for? And I was sitting there in the audience, and I'm like, hey.
Well, and there's another joke. Like I was thinking, because I'm twisted and weird, that I was like, oh, because this is the before and that's the after. Because SVU is nothing but dead prostitutes and strippers. Like that's all they show you. So it's like that moment, right?
Yeah.
So always be thinking about how you can get that next laugh. And everybody thank Marilyn for.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yay.
Well, and thank you guys again. We're spilling a little bit over into our time because we started a little bit late, but that's all good. Go! All right, here goes.
Hi, everybody.
Tell us, why are you taking a stand-up comedy class?
This is actually a conversation I had with one of my coworkers several years ago, and I said to them, you know what, when I turn 50, I'm gonna take a stand-up comedy class for a whole bunch of reasons. One, because she thinks I talk a lot of shit, and two, because I want to get better at public speaking. So, like, what better way to do it than if you could tell comedies, if you could tell jokes and sing in public, that's a good thing. Yeah.
I love it. Here you go. Tell me, who are some comedians that you like or style of comedy that you really gravitate towards?
I definitely gravitate towards Dave Chappelle style of comedy. I also, there's a Hispanic comedian out there, Felipe Esparza. I don't know if you guys know the guy. Yeah. And before he got caught stealing all kinds of jokes, I really was into Carlos Mencias for a little bit until he got his ass kicked with Joe Rogan on TV. Huh?
It was like a messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw his first stand-up at UC Irvine many years ago when he first started up. So I kind of stuck with him a little bit, with Carlos.
Yeah. Excellent. Did you have anything that you were concerned about in signing up for a stand-up comedy course?
Probably the stage fright. I'm kind of a little shy around the edges. So I would say stage fright was my biggest thing, which is interesting because the job that I do now, I have to stand up and talk in front of people all the time. So stage fright is probably the biggest concern, and feeling comfortable with everything. Yeah.
Gotcha. Did you have any questions that you thought of either on the way over or in your car waiting for class that you wanted to pull Nate and I aside to ask? This would be a great opportunity. Just get it out there if you have.
Question. So I, before the alcohol, I had tons of questions. Now with the alcohol, I have no questions at all, actually. No, it was very, no, I'm just kind of going with it. No real questions. Just kind of go with it, learn from the group, learn from you guys, and get to a more comfortable spot. No real questions.
Very cool. So you can feel it in your body. You've been talking for 2 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Very cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the light. It looks like this.
Okay.
And you have 1 minute left.
Okay.
Just give me a little nod or hand gut or something so I know that you see that. So here you go. Tell us about something that happened this week that pissed you off. Really paint a picture with words. Be as descriptive as you can. Names, specific locations. Tell us the story because we weren't there.
It actually kind of happened 2 weeks ago. Okay. I just turned 50 this year, and for those people that say 50 is the new 40, they're full of shit. you know. And so I went on a date. Actually, it was out in Vegas, and when I was arranging for the room, I decided to go the extra mile, and I actually got paid extra to get one of those rooms with the mirror on the side of the ceiling. So I paid a little extra for that, and so we're in the room or whatever, and I realized when I was laying down looking up at the mirror that I didn't have my glasses with me, so I couldn't see shit. And so it didn't really matter. I just pretty much gave up some money there. So that can piss me off. I also went to the reason I missed last week is because I went to the funeral. I went to actually a memorial. We had to go down and spread some ashes. So they told me, it was out in Durham. I don't know if you guys know the Durham area. We out there in the middle of nowhere. And I was out there. They told me 9:30, be out there off of Airport Boulevard, which is out in the middle of nowhere. Be there at 9:30. And so they were going to spread some ashes. So I got there at 9:30. They did not show up there until about 10:45. And I waited out in the middle of nowhere so I realized that even dead Mexicans work on Mexican time. Yeah. So those kind of things that aggravated me this past week.
Of course. Well, I'm just about to give you the mic here.
Okay.
But so you can get comfortable again. I'm your host. I'm Emily or Emily Lentz.
Yes.
You can thank your audience, your class members, and bring me back on stage.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. You up here, Emily? Coming up here.
Of course.
And as Emily said, I know we crossed over to a few minutes ago, so if you have to duck out, don't worry. But just some notes, right off the top. I think Marilyn had mentioned too, some stage fright concerns. Everybody up there feels very natural. It is one of those things where it's environment dependent sometimes, right? When we go to the big theater for the grad show, which we'll go to, and they had a great point, we will be going there at least twice before the actual show. So you're gonna get used to it. Stage fright can be, you just don't wanna be in a new situation if you're really nervous. But if you are, it helps me, especially on the big stages where there's spotlights, you won't see the audience very well. And that actually helps me because I can perform my material to whoever I'm thinking of in front of me, or just for my own benefit. I mean, I don't know about else, but I laugh at my own material. It can be, maybe not Kevin Hart obnoxious, but but he does laugh at every single thing he does.
He's hilarious.
He's hilarious, and so right, exactly. I'm like, his set would be twice as long if he laughed 1 second less between every joke. It's money saving. But just being aware in a small group like this, we get really used to each other. It's easy, and just bring that with you when you go to the stage, because and again, trying to pick someone out in the audience, it's usually impossible. So don't even worry about that. I just look in a general direction. Sometimes I even take my glasses off, and it actually will help me because I'm see it looks like I'm engaging with the audience, but I actually can't see them. So it feels safer. It's like sticking your head in the sand. It actually works.
And I just wanted to reiterate what Nate said. You guys all have wonderful natural stage presence. We've talked about it multiple times, how lucky we feel to have this excellent raw material to work with you guys. It's a phenomenal starting place, and we're very, very excited to just see what develops. Because from right out the gate, I know you guys are feeling what you're feeling, but it's not showing. And when it does sort of peak out, it endears you to us, and it brings us in closer, and it makes us want to support you. Because like Nate was saying, when we play at the big theater for our student show, it's also a good time to get familiar, because if you submit for a comedy festival, a lot of times those are taking place at movie theaters. So you're going to be in situations like that, and it's also a good opportunity to come and visit the cultural center. Come see a movie, and then stand up and just take a look behind you, okay, this is the space that I'm going to be in. Also, like Nate was saying, you're going to be blinded by light, so we'll guide you. You will know that your jokes are going to land because you're going to be prepared. And also, you're going to be surrounded by friends and family who only want to see you do well.
People want to laugh, and 90% of them are going to be drunk.
Yeah.
So it's we serve drinks and they're heavy. So it's okay, 25% of them will be in recovery because we're in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
But, that's good too. So they want to laugh at you. So that's good news. The Dead Mexicans also Mexican time. That's masterful. It's one of those jokes that I just can't repeat. And it's frustrating. But no, it's really good. So I think last thing I want to say is Emily put together, as always, an amazing list of clips and specials for homework this week. Has everybody signed in at least to the class online, to the hub? Okay, great. I think so. You're like,
I don't
no.
think I did.
just click into it. Like, and if you need another invite, just message me. That way I know, because it's a good way. It's an easy way for me to message you. Is I can click on the email. I did not get everybody's notes sent out from last week. I will send you just the topics because we covered more than that in this right here. I'll have the video, of course, probably with much better video with Mark. And when you watch the videos, there's one that I love that Emily found, and I put the corresponding clip of John Mulaney, not in his recorded special, working out a bit that ended up in a slightly altered form in the special Baby J. And so you can watch the one where he's working it out, and then you can watch how he actually delivered it. It's some of the differences are subtle, some of them are just trimmed out, some of them have to do with how he reacted to the audience in one, and one was more like my stage, control, I'm in charge. They both have their strengths, but just watch that. Then the other clips are also really worth it. Patton Oswalt's one of my favorite. He's a very narrative comedian. Sometimes I'm like, I don't mind laughing, it's just really funny, and I'd have to diagram it. Remember this, it's in that first packet. I simplified it, so there's like 4 things they put there. That's for grad students, so you know that shit. But your setup, the expected story is what people think you're gonna say. The actual story is what you're actually going to tell them, and the punchline is the most succinct way to say that, right? So your joke is a setup punchline, but the reason it works is they expect this, you're giving them this. Different. The bigger difference between that, the bigger the laugh will usually be. If you do this and they don't understand it, you need to refine how you explain the story, or you need to refine the setup. They're missing information. That's why they're not laughing. Okay? Because if you think I have a setup and punchline, it's probably accurate. If it doesn't get a laugh or at least a chuckle, then you're probably missing some information that they were needing. Okay? So remember to return to this when you're writing material. The homework and the other and the actual specials I will be listing today. The one's already up. Fortune Feedster, and then the clips are all up. I will be putting in the homework. Here's what we'd like you to do for the homework. We mentioned earlier writing down your life in a paragraph.